Hello, everyone. This episode is called What to Do When You're Overstimulated, and I'm primarily focusing on the neurodivergent baddies, but honestly, anyone who is highly sensitive or just going through a stressful time will probably want to hear this episode. And so listen up if that's you, but please forward to anyone who you think would benefit from this information. So first of all, what is overstimulation? My own definition is when one or all of your senses have been overwhelmed beyond a reasonable length of time. We all have different tolerances based on who we are, and that will tell us when we've reached our maximum capacity. We usually become hyper aware of everything. It could be the temperature in our environment, the light, sound, even something like the texture of the clothing you're wearing or the texture of the furniture you're sitting on might become too much. You may become very aware of it. The problem is that this feeling of overwhelm may happen when we're out in public or work or at a function and we can't just leave right away. And then we feel ourselves getting anxious, irritable, and just having the desire to just get up without any warning and just walk out of wherever we are. And I realized we don't always have control over our environment, but there are things we can do to help our nervous system feel a little more regulated. So here are my tips, and some you'll be able to do immediately in the moment, and some will help you more so with your recovery at home. So the first one is take a deep breath and assess the situation. It's always good to take a moment to pause. You might be at a networking event, a family function, a bar, or even your office. Being overstimulated can make you highly reactive. It's important to gain control over your reaction. Take a moment to pay attention and look around. And pay attention to, is there any quiet corner you can sit down in and take a breather? Are you able to step into the restroom? Is there someone that came with you that you can make eye contact with and let them know you're ready to leave or you're not doing too well? Take time to assess the situation. It can really make all the difference. My next tip is to tell someone. I think especially in the case of people who are neurodivergent, they can often find themselves in situations where they have to mask and pretend to be a way that they really are not. The pressure of that can be way too much at times. There's nothing wrong with letting someone you trust know, hey, I'm pretty overstimulated right now, and then maybe you can come up with a plan together as to what you need. It could be just you going out to the car to sit in it for a few minutes, or maybe you leave. Maybe you have a cup of tea made for you. Sometimes just talking to someone who knows you well and letting them know you're not doing well can put you in a much more advantageous position. Next, and this is an at-home recovery one, legs up the wall. If you aren't familiar with this posture, imagine yourself lying on your back with your legs elevated, leaned up against the wall at a 90-degree angle from the rest of your body. This posture helps with circulation, but it can also have very calming effects on your nervous system. On days when you're feeling overwhelmed, like I was today, I will do this for about 10 to 15 minutes. Now, if I'm feeling sort of restless and fidgety and I just don't have the attention span, I will also turn on an audiobook to help me to keep at it for longer so I can get those maximum benefits. When I get out of the pose, I often feel much more calm and refreshed. It can also be helpful to those who deal with a little bit of edema, and it can help with your feet or ankles or legs that may be swelling. Next, even though certain sounds can overwhelm me, I find that listening to healing frequencies has a very positive effect on me. I usually turn the lighting down a little lower, burn a candle, and I find a healing frequency that I can listen to on either my television or my phone. And at first, just like the legs up the wall, I fidget, I'm uncomfortable, I'm wanting to reach for my phone, but eventually I'm able to really lean into it and get the benefits of that healing frequency. Eventually, I'm able to mellow out, and it really contributes to better sleep. Now, another one that is really helpful is going outside. The change of scenery and fresh air has always done wonders for me. Grounding techniques can be effective. You can find a patch of grass, take off your shoes, and reconnect with the earth. You can sit outside and just listen to nature. You can also go for a walk. Lots of options. And, of course, adjust according to your time constraints and the environment you're in. Next is one of my favorites, and that is essential oils. I have a diffuser, which I love. A good friend gave it to me a couple years ago, and I drop in some essential oils based on my needs at the moment. So one thing I've always found to be very calming and relaxing is lavender. But especially if I'm trying to wind down before bed or after a day that felt exceptionally long, that lavender can really just help me to get there faster, probably also just based on familiarity that I use it a lot at bedtime. But lavender might not be your favorite essential oil, so there are many you can try, and many of them have so many other medicinal benefits, including helping to boost your mood. My next tip is to be kind to yourself. I find that when I get to the point of overstimulation, I'm easily irritated by everything, and I'm not exactly kind to myself. I get frustrated easily. It's just so important to give yourself grace in moments like these and realize maybe on this particular day, in this particular moment, it's kind of all too much. And sometimes you just need a breather to kind of help you get through the rest of your day, reminding yourself that you deserve that breather. You're not weak. You're not immature. You're not unevolved. You just need a breather. You need a moment to kind of tap out. I always deserve a chance to be replenished. You always deserve a chance to be replenished. And we also have to remind ourselves we're no good to ourselves or to anyone else if we're running on E. So give yourself that grace. Another tip is to try calming herbs or teas, but definitely stay away from black tea and coffee. Both have caffeine, and that can definitely have the opposite effect. And if you're already overstimulated, you do not want anything that will stimulate you further. Sometimes I will drink a chamomile blend. I think it has a tiny bit of lavender in it as well. And sometimes it's just the act of drinking tea, maybe even the ritual of making the tea, of putting that water into the kettle, waiting for it to come to a boil, letting the tea steep, all of those actions, that slow process, and then smelling the aroma of the tea, I think really contributes to relaxing me. Okay, another one. You know what else can help with overstimulation? Headphones. So you can bring noise canceling, either like your AirPods or your over-the-ear headphones, which is my preference. And you can just noise cancel and listen to complete silence, or you can put on something relaxing. Hopefully an example of something relaxing is even you listening to this podcast. But I also like ambient sounds or nature sounds as well. And I think what's so great about headphones is sometimes you can get ahead of the overstimulation, knowing that you might be in a place that could be overwhelming. Like for me, I didn't realize for years, but flying on an airplane, I inevitably would be too close to a screaming and crying child. And then just the air on the plane itself, everything was overstimulating, and it was just a lot. Once I got those noise canceling headphones, it was much easier to bear. And my last tip is try to go to bed early. Sleep is my absolute favorite reset. After a time of overstimulation, your body is likely crying out for rest. Sometimes we cannot control the environments we're in. All we can do is try to lighten our burdens by doing what may have worked for us in the past. So if you can, definitely get your rest. Well, thank you so much for listening to another episode, and I am wishing you a peaceful and restful week.